Guten Tag, good day to everyone. I am Shrutidhora P. Mohor, an author from India. I present before you an excerpt from this book of mine, 23 Summers, which has been published by Ukiyoto Publishing in January this year, January 2020. And this happens to be a much loved book by everyone. So I thought of presenting portions of this for you. It's divided into sections, and I thought I would read out a couple of sections for you. So I begin. Section 1. As my second year in college began, I found love. Not that I was looking for it in particular though. More so, because by then I had become fairly well acquainted with the reality that it would be impossible for me to find it, given the fact that I was not, what they call straight. Nonetheless, love arrived in the form of Farooq Omar, a Kashmiri boy, a newcomer to our city, and a year junior to me in college, and my roommate in the hostel. Sudarshan, you have a new roommate, Farooq Omar. He's from Kashmir. The warden, of course, did not know then that we would build a world of ours in the room provided to us. On that humid summer morning, I was putting my laptop on charge, and for some reason the plug point was not working properly, and I, sweating profusely and impatient, had crawled under the table to steady the wobbly plug point on the wall hidden behind the table. I pulled my head out at the warden's introductory statement, and without even looking at the newcomer properly, huffed and said, "Here, the charging point isn't working. Can you fix it?" The just arrived guest thought for a few seconds, and then brought out something from one of his bags, and similarly crawled under the table to fix it. After a minute or so, he stood up and said in a soft voice to me, "I think it's done. You can charge your device now. Shall I plug it in?" I now looked at him with attention. He was a bundle of pink in front of me. That was my first impression of him. A bundle of pink, a column of pink, a pillar of pink. Sunlight traveled through him. It is not that fair-complexioned people did not exist in Bengal. Some of my cousins were also quite fair, without using fairness creams. Some of my classmates were fair, maybe by using fairness creams. But none so pink, so vulnerable in the fairness of his skin. I went close to him. He and I were approximately of the same height. He must have shaved 2 days ago, before he had boarded the train. His cheeks were tainted with the faint green lines of beard. His t-shirt clung to his body, and he was perspiring so heavily that I looked to the floor once where he was standing to see if he had actually given rise to a pool of sweat. His hair partially covered his forehead, and his eyebrows were attractively designed in straight lines. Without thinking much, I raised my right index finger and lightly touched his face just below his left eye. He looked astonished but said nothing. Then I drew my finger away and observed closely, once my fingertip and once the spot where I had touched. Slightly curious, he now asked, "What?" and then added as an afterthought, "Is that how you greet new people here?" I burst out laughing, completely taken in by the simplicity of the question. After a few minutes I said, "I just wanted to see if your pink is real, or if I touch it with my brown finger, does it get tarnished?" He now smiled, at first a bit, and then widely. My pink. Yes. Then his expression changed, and after some thinking, he added, You know, my mom used to think of me as a girl when I was small. His right hand instinctively came down below his waist, with his palm parallel to the floor to indicate the height that he once was as a small girl. As crystal beads of perspiration hung from his attractive eyebrows and above his upper lip, I took a deep breath and watched him with an affectionate smile on my face. So far away from home, a mother's love to reminisce about. My heart felt a plenitude of love and affection for him within minutes. It did not take us long to fall in love, except for the occasional persuasion on my part, trying to make him open up to the idea that this was also a possible kind of love, prohibited yet permissible, damned but not condemnable. We came together quite easily and naturally. Dear friends, I skip one section to move into the third one. Section 3. My itinerary was neatly planned, as it should be. 18 days in the valley, engaged in detailed deliberations and brainstorming with numerous kinds of people, leaders of different sections, representatives of the people, police chiefs, army officers, human rights observers, in short, all that an interlocutor for conflict resolution is supposed to do. Working for the last 17 years at the Institute for Peace Building in South Asia, one of the most reputed think tanks in the subcontinent, and already a much acclaimed peace broker elsewhere, I had been chosen to look into the Kashmir problem by the government of India at a time when it seemed, unbelievably though, that the violence-torn valley was not entirely dismissive of a dialogue. Perhaps it had run out of suns, I had said to myself before I had boarded the flight. This was my work in the first phase, to be followed up if need be by future visits, depending on the outcome and the feedback. The last 2 nights were to be spent in Srinagar. As I checked into my room around midday after a 4-hour drive from a distant village with high casualties, I was both relaxed and keen to arrange all my findings and recommendations together before I returned to my office in Shimla. Trying to put my phone on charge, I saw that the charger did not match the plug pins. Looking worriedly at the 23% charge showing on the screen and feeling impatient, I did not look up when someone at the door sought my permission to enter and place a tray of kawa tea and cookies. Can you help me charge my phone? I need a charger that works here. Are you from the room service? There was no reply. Still fiddling with the plug point, I got ready to translate my requirement into Hindi. But something about the person at the door made me look up. Our eyes met. As the view of the outside from the window of a fast-running train gets hazily refracted into single points of monochrome, so also for me, for us, years, months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, all collapsed into one moment. 23 years later, sunlight still traveled through him. A pillar of pink, a column of pink, a bundle of pink, a lovable bundle, almost a girl as a child. After some minutes, he said, "I shall get you an adapter, sir." His last word, the address, fell like a whip on my emotionally charged face. I did not have to look for an excuse to ask the front office to send Farooq to my room in the evening. He came on his own. After the initial nothings, amidst a sea of discomfort, more mine than his, I wanted to know for how long he was free to talk. My duty is over for the day. He was composed, quiet, as though he had waited for me to arrive in Kashmir all these years. As though we had met by arrangement. As though we had decided that once he gets over for the day, he will drop in for a chat. His composure unnerved me further, excited me more than what my soul could bear at the age of 42. I walked up and down the room, touched things unnecessarily, turned lights on and off. He watched me in silence. Gradually, I pacified myself and began a normal conversation. I explained to him what had brought me to Kashmir. He listened in silence. "I hope peace comes now to this troubled region," I said self-importantly, with the heart of an outsider. I doubt the insider needed peace far more than me, but was considerably less hopeful. I frowned. "Why? Why do you doubt?" "See, your people have told us what they want. We in return have told them what we expect from them and how it can be brought about. Fringe elements have been marginalized. The democratic process has begun. Elections will take place if there is no violence for 6 months. Done. You can't go on like this forever." Thankfully, everybody involved has begun to acknowledge that. I paused and then said with hurried impatience, "The government has done a lot. Admit that. It has done a lot. What do you expect? When terrorists kill people from the army, the state will watch? Only terrorists disguised as freedom fighters have rights? Only they are humans? The people in the army have no rights? They aren't human?" In anger, my nostrils had surely expanded. They are superhuman. That's why they have problems in understanding what human beings in Kashmir want. His reply was unexpected and completely unacceptable. We stood looking outside in silence. Then, after some time, he said, "There is no peace within you, and they have sent you to bring peace here. Strange." His voice was low, as always. The last exclamation was hardly audible, in fact. And before I could say anything, he took my leave, wished me good night, and left. Friends, I hope this excerpt gets you interested into reading 23 Summers, and I hope as you read the entire book, it's a long story, it's not a very lengthy piece of writing. I hope you read this, enjoy this, and please do leave a review for the author on Amazon. That will be highly appreciated. Thank you so much.